Hi guys, my name is Nairi and you will find me on the Nairi Squash channel, which is all about adoption, family life and everything relating to the children, you, behaviours, trauma. It's all on there. So if you think that's something you could be interested in, then please take the time to subscribe by hitting the pink button below. So today we're going to talk about the disorganised child and how that might look, how you might be helped to look after a disorganised child, how you may be helped to make a decision about whether you could take on a disorganised child. So if you've had a look at my other videos on attachment and the different categories, you will know from there that the final category of attachment is disorganised, and it's the one that people really do consider to be the most difficult to deal with, and to parent a disorganised child is pretty challenging. So I'm the adopter of two boys. Neither of them have disorganised attachment, although they do display traits of it from time to time, but I have been a foster carer and I have parented a child with disorganised attachment, so I can speak from a little bit of experience. And the thing about having a disorganised child is you do have to be ready for whatever might come to you. And it might be that you're the type of adopter that's willing to have a challenge. I'm really happy to take on a more complicated, complex placement, because with disorganised children, it's just that really. It's disorganised and you don't know what's going to come next, and they can take you by surprise. So disorganised children have had a definitely a very abusive history, and more than likely that abuse has come first hand from the primary attachment caregiver or somebody very close to them in the family, and will normally have gone through quite systematic abuse day in, day out, where they are absolutely completely fearful of that person. And so what it does is it shows in their behaviour. They tend to sort of be all over the place, and fear can strike hold of them, and they become very chaotic, and their behaviours can become very bizarre, and there's not a lot of sense to them. And within those behaviours can be some things that are pretty traumatic for a carer to deal with. And I think, you know, forewarned is forearmed really. So if you think that you're up for it, then that's great. And for those of you who think that you're already maybe caring for a disorganised child, then maybe this video will help you to be not at peace about it necessarily, but to hear from someone else how it is. It just might be comforting. So you know, a disorganised child will do things like harm themselves, harm family pets, harm other children, and not necessarily look like they're understanding it or feeling it. They often don't have the empathy toward the other child or the other animal or whoever it is. They will look at you sometimes for a response to what they're doing, but there will often be something in their eyes that tells them that they're not really understanding what they're doing. So you might get a sorry from them, but actually the reality is they're not sorry because they're not really understanding it, they're not feeling it, they're not empathizing what they're doing. And of course this makes them very difficult to parent, because you may be able to explain to them why they shouldn't hurt a family pet, but if they're not feeling the emotion that you're feeling, they're not understanding it, that they're really hurting that pet, then it's really difficult to reason with them, and you may well find that it will happen again, or something else similar will happen. The disorganised child finds it very hard to love and very hard to attach. So it's not to say that they can't over time, but for the disorganised child it's going to be really hard work for them to ever trust anybody. And so again, a lot of the work that you might put in, you might think you're making progress, but actually it might feel after a while that you haven't, because they haven't really attached to you. You think they have, and then something happens and you realise that they haven't. So just give you a quick example of a child that we fostered, and I thought it was going really, really well. I thought we had built a bond, and then one day that child just said to me, well, if you need me to move me on to another placement, then why don't you just do it? And I was devastated, because I felt that we had a really good bond, but actually it just goes to show that could just be broken, you know, at any particular time. So sometimes you feel like you're making progress, you might take a few steps forwards, and you might feel like you're taking 10 steps back. Over a period of time though, I think you can work with a disorganised child and you can see progress and you can see that bond, but it's a lot harder work with them to really achieve that than it is with generally the children that you might have coming into foster care and into adoption. So the ways that you can deal with this is to never take it personally. read plenty of books around disorganised attachment as well, because you'll find that there will be stories out there about children and the way they are and the way they behave, but you can't take it personally, because you need to understand that they have never had an adult at all that's loved or cared for them or provided for them even. And so you're going to go right back to the beginning. I've said this in my other videos of attachment. You're going to have to go right back to the beginning and put the foundation in. So the things that you would need to put in place that they would 100% need to know on a daily basis, day in, day out, is that you're going to give them meals every day. There's going to be a set routine, that you're going to be there to give them the cuddles and the hugs and the physical affection that they need, that you're going to accept them no matter what the behaviour, but that you're going to be firm about that behaviour, and you're going to be clear about when you're not going to accept that behaviour. And also you're probably going to have to be there to listen to their disclosures about probably fairly horrific abuse from whichever category that comes, and highly likely going to need to go through therapeutic processes with them, which will be nurturing and building that bond of attachment with you. If you're an adopter, really struggle at school and they might well be significantly behind with their development, so you might need intervention from an education point of view, or even a specialist school for them, because often they can't sit down and concentrate. Their anxieties and their fears take over. You may well find there'll be other conditions in there as well. So as well as disorganised attachment, they may display signs of autism, ADHD, find it very difficult to sit still. And again, the fear levels that take over are always there for them. And it's a long road with these children, but of course they're the ones that need the care more than anybody. So guys, I hope that helps you about disorganised attachment. And if it does, then please take the time to subscribe at the end of my video. I look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.